I've made 4 conceptual pieces that you can consider for your final project. Okay, sorry, that was a little bit of a funsy onesie for me. So here's number 1. I really like this design. This first one is the first time that I kind of experimented with the nebula around here. Sorry, the nebula around here and the nebula in the middle. It looks really nice, honestly. The darker colors as well fit with the background. As you said earlier, this would work totally with yellow and red. It would look it actually could look better than what I've made here. But let's see here. So the defining concept of this piece is a lot of planets with a color scheme, that color scheme being used as a little bit of like shading in between them. As you can see, blue, purple, right, pink, all used in the middle between them to kind of connect them. Kind of looks like stardust almost, right? And surrounding all that, surrounding a nebula in the middle with a little bit of shade, like shine, to make it look like it's like shining at you. The downside to this one, the downside to this painting is that there's a lot of spray paint that kind of runs off, I guess, for lack of a better term, into the black space. So what I do to make these, I stencil up the planets so they don't get covered in paint, and then I go in between them with all of the color scheme colors, right? Very simply. But when I do that, the paint, it's spray paint, right? It sprays, right? It sprays out, and I have to do it way far back so it gets the kind of far out look that it has. That spray, some of it gets onto the black void, and when it gets onto that black void, it does look nice, but on the outsides it doesn't really look like black void anymore, right? And that makes it not necessarily bad, but it does make it look a lot less clean. But good for you, this is your canvas, right? Hello. If I were to say put this exact painting on this huge canvas, then it would look a lot cleaner because the spray it would still be there, the runoff, that it would kind of make the space surrounding it not the void of space, right? But then there would be a lot more space between it and the middle, and that space would start to look like the void of space that you kind of look forward to seeing to make it look clean, right? It would look a lot cleaner on the big canvas, and honestly, in my opinion, it would look a lot better. This is the second one. The defining aspect of this painting is the rays shooting off from it. Are the rays shooting off from a sort of middle source? Here, I'll just grab it. So, as you can see, the middle looks like ugly. All right, it looks terrible. This was a very experimental piece for me. I kind of didn't send it to you, but I like to include it in this video because the concept could look really nice on a big canvas like that. These little like splotches of paint, those are accidental. Those are not meant to be there, right? Like, right, those two. Those wouldn't be there. And the little nebula in the middle would look a lot more like that nebula right there. It would have a lot more shine, and it wouldn't look as texturally ugly like this one. Yeah. So the defining aspect of this one are the rays shooting off from the middle. And like I said, the middle would look different. It would look way better. Another good part that I neglected to add in this piece were these little shaders. As you can see, that white little shade in front of this planet, it makes it look like it's moving, and it's really nice. And it like kind of did it here, but then the paint splotched a little bit, so it doesn't look as neat. But I would do that on a bigger scale, and it would look way cool. So it would seem as if all the planets are running away from the middle, or from the nebula in the center. All right. So that's 1, and that's 2, and here are 3 and 4. I kind of separated these because they're 2 separate ideas. So this one, this is 3. This is a pretty looking piece here. This one is characterized. Oh, here, I'll move it so you don't get the sheen in your eyes. So this one is characterized by the separate color palettes that it has. In the top, it has a blue, purple, pink, green in the top, and then connecting them. As I said before, the paint, the paint runoff, as I kind of called it, is running rampant here, so you can hardly see the connectors in the video, but they're there. It's connected by the purple, green, blue, and it looks really neat, especially on the big canvas. Then it has red. It has the red, pink, and red, pink, and yellow palette down here, and it is connected by the color palette. And and like I said before, the sorry, I just got a call from my dad. The defining aspect of these is that the color palette ends. It ends right there, and then the red color palette ends right there, and that is where the nebula begins. Now here, it wouldn't look exactly like this. Here, I definitely overdid the shading here. It doesn't look more as it's running away. It just looks like it's just white out of nowhere, right? And then the nebula's not as clean. As you can see, the line that I used for it is still there. It isn't as clean here, but I've learned, and it would look way better on the big canvas, as I said, because the color palettes, they mix really nicely with each other, and then as a contrast in between with the white, and then the texturing in between them, it has all sorts of different colors. It looks really nice, and like I said, the color runoff would hardly be existent here, because I wouldn't include these huge white shaders, and it would just look way nicer. Okay. All right, our last one right here. Okay, sorry for that cut. Here we are. This is number 4, and honestly, I personally like this design the best. This is how it was made. This is how it's meant to be looked at. But here, there are a few defining aspects of this piece. First, the top left corner starts in blue. This is kind of where our color palette begins. It starts with blue, then it goes from blue to green, green to yellow, and yellow to red in these planets, right, in these palettes. Then from here, it goes from blue to pink, and then pink to purple. And then it doesn't really cross over here. But honestly, I really like these color evolution sort of ideas. And then another defining aspect is the nebula in the middle. This, I textured the entire thing. I laid down a whole nother nebula behind it, covered it in white, and then textured it. It looks insanely neat. It looks very clean. And also a good part of this painting is that the paint runoff that it gets everywhere is very minimal on this kind of painting, because you don't shade it very much. You hardly get that white shade on it. And then the only runoff is coming from the middle, the nebula. And then the other sides, see, as you can start, there's deep black space, there's a void. And that sounds really weird, but that's what it is. There's void, there's black void around the edges. And then it kind of looks like it diminishes, and it's really nice. It's very clean. And honestly, this is my personal favorite painting right here. I'm going to be putting this one up in my room. You might be able to put it up in your classroom. So these are my 4 little painting concepts. Again, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Tell me which ones you like.